There are two different types of tracking systems. The first is known as ability grouping, where students are assigned to different classes based on their perceived ability in that subject. Leveling systems ideally teach all students the same curriculum, but they may first need to pass prerequisite courses. Some higher achieving 8th graders, for example, may be taking the same course as lower achieving 10th graders. In some schools, tracking begins with kindergarten screening. Early achievement tests are designed to measure ability and determine tracking placement in the early school years. In other programs, tracking may begin its educational trajectory later in that student's schooling and can rely on subjective factors such as teacher recommendations, grades, and the perception of the student's motivation. Parents may also be allowed to request a track in some programs. In schools with tracking systems in place, teachers often use language such as low kids, advanced, regular, and overachievers. Corbett and Garrity state, language shapes our thinking and our beliefs. The language that surrounds educational tracking system often includes generalizations and labels, limiting the ability of our students in our eyes. One student population that is impacted by tracking and the inequities it fosters in education are children and students living in poverty. Being poor does not only mean that a child has less money and fewer toys. Poverty is pervasive. It affects diet, nutrition, employment, housing, self-concept, and the entire educational experience. Knowing that 25% of children living in the United States live in poverty, and 51% of students in schools qualify for free and reduced lunch, we know that we are likely placing the inequities that come with tracking systems on at least 25 to 50% of our students when we decide to implement them. Anselon and his research support the idea that specific educational structures, such as tracking, perpetuate the cycle of poverty by determining educational outcomes and limiting the economic life chances of children. Some of the inequities that are fostered by tracking systems onto children and students living in poverty include the following. Limited access to courses. In recent research done by the United States Department of Education, 57% of Black high school students have access to full range of courses needed to succeed in college and careers, compared to 71% of white students. Understanding the direct functional relationship between race and socioeconomic status is imperative to understanding how these statistics relate to tracking and its inequities placed upon students living in poverty. Access to quality teaching.